The San Francisco 49ers just made what I think is a brilliant move, and I think it's not just good for the 49ers, it's good for the player. If you're new here, I'm Nate, and if you're looking for daily 49ers content, hit that subscribe button. But as you know, the 49ers, I'm sure you've heard by now, have traded Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a 5th-round pick. I had a whole video planned today that was recorded and ready to go out about why the Commanders were the best team for the Deebo Samuel trade, why things made sense. But unfortunately, all of that was null and void once the trade was announced. Here's the basic point, though. What you need to kind of get from this, the 49ers are in a tough spot with Deebo. If they don't find a trade partner now, then they have to decide either to cut him after June 1st, which makes the most financial sense to wait for a cut, or after June 1st, you can decide, I'm going to tell Deebo I couldn't find a trade partner and we're not going to do it. Now, John Lynch went out of his way not to say that the 49ers are definitely going to trade Deebo or to say the 49ers are not going to trade Deebo. The way John Lynch worded it was, we're going to try our best to honor his request, right? That's how John Lynch put it. So what does that tell you? I don't know. It tells me that I don't think that the 49ers were necessarily going to push the issue too hard. But the trade partners out there were guys like these guys, the Denver Broncos. Diana Rossini went out today saying that the Denver Broncos are not going to put an offer in to try and trade for Deebo Samuel. And it makes sense. Think about it from 1 second. Now, you have the Courtland Sutton part, which Courtland Sutton then gets to be your Deebo or your Brandon Aiyuk to the Deebo Samuel trade, where Courtland Sutton is your X guy, he's your man beater, and then Deebo Samuel is your zone killer, right? Except you have Marvin Mims. The Denver Broncos with Marvin Mims already do a lot of X factor stuff there. And the Denver Broncos are still not sold on their running back room. And so the 49ers, or the Denver Broncos, have Estime they just recently drafted. He had his first season. They're going to expect him to step up more. They had, of course, veteran Javonte Williams for a long time. We'll see what happens for the Denver Broncos in terms of the running back room, but it just doesn't seem like a good fit for Deebo Samuel in Denver. I don't see the $15.8 million value for the Denver Broncos. Now, Houston Texans were another team that were very much interested in Deebo Samuel, and Deebo Samuel was interested in the Houston Texans. Jordan Schultz reported that the Texans are significantly interested in Deebo. That was yesterday, and then Rossini reported today that the Texans are not expected to make an offer, which left only one team. Only one team was remaining that had not offered or had not been publicly stated that they were not going to make an offer. It looks like the Texans were, D'Amico Ryans, just banking on the opportunity, because remember that the Texans had a lot of injuries. They had Nico Collins miss a good portion of the season. They had Stephon Diggs miss half the season. Tank Dell missed the tail end of the season. So they had huge injuries in the wide receiving room, and so it makes sense why they might be interested in a guy like Deebo, who would give them something they don't have. However, for the Texans, it looked like they were going to wait to see if the 49ers were going to drop Deebo after June 1st. Now, I don't know what kind of magic was being done in the 49ers front office to convince teams that they were definitely willing to trade him now, but weren't going to cut him June 1st or something, because the teams obviously could have waited to see. The downside, of course, to the team being, what do I do during the draft? What do I do in free agency if I'm waiting to see what happens post June 1? Okay? Then comes in the Washington Commanders. Jordan Schultz, how do I get that to not be blurry? You know what I mean? We've got to get that thing to be not blurry. What happened there? I don't know. I don't know what happened there. But Jordan Schultz reports for the Commanders that they're expressing significant interest in Deebo Samuel. This was yesterday. Washington is going to have, of course, a lot of turnover in the wide receiver room, so that makes sense. And then plus, you get the Terry McLaurin deal. That is where, for me, it made perfect sense for the 49ers and the Washington Commanders to come to the table and find a meeting ground, because McLaurin plus Deebo is exactly what the 49ers had in Brandon Aiyuk plus Deebo. It is you have your X guy, you have your man beater guy, and you have Deebo Samuel, who's your zone killer guy. And between the two of them, you can do a lot of fun stuff. Plus, Deebo would be a genuine X factor that they did not have. When you pair Deebo with a running quarterback, I think that you can see where very quickly this becomes a huge offensive threat for the Washington Commanders, and Deebo doesn't even have to play his best ball in order to be valuable to the Commanders in the way that the 49ers needed Deebo to play his best ball in order to be successful this season. Washington Commanders are going to get an X-factor player. They were willing to take on, they had the cap space, which was a huge factor in all this as well, had more cap space than the other big teams in the mix. But then on top of that, the Commanders willing to take on the salary, which helps the 49ers. If we just cut him after June 1st, that doesn't really help us financially. The only, issue with doing a trade now, of course, is some of the, acceleration and things like that. All of that messy stuff that I don't fully understand is maybe your one downside, I suppose. But getting the trade done now, getting some actual value out of it now is a win. Now, it's fair to ask the question, was this a good trade? I think, in my mind, the rumors out there for a long time were that teams were offering like a 7th-round pick for Deebo Samuel. And I can't see the 49ers going for that. Obviously, something's better than nothing, but I can't see them going for a 7th-round pick. I'm not sure if the numbers even make sense at a 7th-round pick. 49ers, however, probably, I'm guessing, if the rumors are true that 7th was kind of the starting number, 49ers starting number is probably somewhere around 2nd or 3rd round pick, and they're meeting somewhere in the middle at 5th round. Now, of course, my mind goes to great 5th round players like George Kittle most recently in my mind there. It was a 5th round player. I think I saw a great tweet about Malik Mustafa being the guy that you ended up getting out of the Trey Lance deal. It was laughable when you traded Trey Lance for a 4th. It felt ridiculous. Now, Dallas Cowboys have cut him, and that 4th round pick for Dallas didn't really help them out either, did it, right? I mean, trading that away didn't help them for Trey Lance. Now, all things said and done, 49ers have Malik Mustafa. We feel really good about Malik Mustafa. He's going to be a starting safety. That's a win for the 49ers. And I think that's the same kind of mentality we need to take with the Deebo Samuel trade. We need to look at this situation and say, what this front office has been able to do, what this scouting staff, what John Lynch, this general manager with Kyle Shanahan, what they've been able to come up with for many of these later round players that have hit. I think that's something worth celebrating. There are definitely some question marks around some of the top end talent that they've had, 1st and 2nd rounders that have flopped for sure. We've had a lot of 1st and 2nd and 3rd round players that have flopped, but that's the nature of the draft. Players flop. That's just the way that it is. You cannot perfectly guarantee anything in the NFL, especially in the draft. But their hit rate on some of these players, especially last season, are so high that I have confidence in what the 49ers can do with this. And I think the cap benefit plus you get something out of it that's probably better than what any of the other teams would have offered. You get a 5th round. We have 11 picks now, and I think that's actually, you have to remember that 5th round pick could also be a trade bargain. That could be something that they use during draft day to say, get up and move up a few spots if there's a guy that's within reach that they feel like is worth making the move for. So if the 49ers make a move and they offer a 5th and a 3rd or something like that, they've got 11 picks to choose from. This is a huge number of picks. And if they trade up for a big guy, then you look at that big move and you say, that was the Deebo trade. That was the way that worked. Obviously, at the end of the day, the 49ers need to get younger. They're serious about getting younger. We have questions, of course, about Brandon Aiyuk, which is just madness. Like, I can't even believe we're in this situation after everything that's happened over the course of the last offseason. But look, I think this is a good move. I think this is better than it could have been. I think this is a team honoring Deebo's trade request. I think this is a team letting go of a player before the wheels have completely fallen off. And he will genuinely be a value to the Commanders, and he's more of a value to them than he would have been to us. That's the honest truth. And I will always have great memories of Deebo Samuel. One of the best seasons, 2021, one of the best seasons I've ever seen in my entire life out of as an individual player. And we'll always be able to have those memories. So good luck to you, Deebo Samuel. Congratulations on the move. I hope it works out for you over there with Jaden Daniels, my blurry picture that I couldn't get to load correctly for some reason. And you know what? I wish you all all the best. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this trade. Do you feel like it was not a good trade? Do you feel like it was not fair market value for what we should have been able to get for Deebo? The amount of money we'd already put up there, I can understand why a team is struggling to do more than a 5th-round pick. So overall, I feel pretty good about it. I think it was a good move, and I'm happy for you, Deebo. Congratulations. Head out on your way and go do something meaningful for the Commanders, except when they're playing against the 49ers.